Hey folks, welcome to my channel Number Pen. So today we have an interesting problem. The problem is on your screen. Limit x tending to infinity. 2x squared plus 3 divided by 2x squared plus 5, the whole power 8x squared plus 3, right? So we know uh, that a to the power x plus y equals a to the power x into a to the power y, right? So we might have to solve this problem as though we are finding the limits of two independent expressions, right? So let me write down the first expression here. So I can let me write down this expression in the manner we just spoke. So I'm gonna write this like this, right? So write this as this to the power 8x square, right? 8x square into, still have the same expression, and let's write this as to the power 3, right? So we are using a to the power x plus y equals a to the power x into a to the power y. So that's the formula we are using. So we are writing this as two independent expressions, and let's solve the first part of the equation, right? So let me pick up this. I'm going to highlight this in green, and I'm going to highlight this in yellow, right? And let's pick up the green part of the problem and write this out here. And let me, so all that we are trying to do is I'm trying to look at this expression 2x squared plus 3 divided by 2x squared plus 5, the whole power 8x square, and try and connect this with, and remember, limit is x tending to infinity, right? And I'll have to write this out here so that we don't lose track of that. So let me pull this out, and limit x tending to infinity, and I'll copy this and put this out here, and I'm going to remove this, right? So I think I have, we can further break this expression, right? Look at the numerator part of it. It's 2x squared plus 3, the whole power 8x square, and the denominator is 2x squared plus 5, the whole power 8x square, right? So I'm going to write this expression, I'm going to break this further, and I'm going to write it as like this, right? Let me copy the numerator, and I'm going to bracket this first, and I'm going to write this as 8x square, right? And similarly, I've got an expression at the bottom, but it is 2x square plus 5, the whole power 8x square, right? Now, when you look at the numerator and the denominator separately, I think, and you try connecting it with one of the formulas on your screen, on the right of your screen, it becomes a lot more easier, right? So, all that I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator by 2x square, right? So let's write this, divided by 2x square, the whole power 8x square, right? So let me rewrite this, and that's so that becomes a lot easier. right? So I'm going to copy this square and I've divided it by 2x square, the whole power 8 square, right? And this is not going to change my expression, right? It's not going to change the expression that we initially started off with. Let me remove these brackets, okay? Just a minute. 2x square plus 3, right? I'm dividing it by 2x square. I'm going to be doing that in the numerator and in the denominator, right? And I'm going to retain this 8x square, folks, right? And I'm going to do something very similar in the denominator. The expression is very similar, but we have 2x square plus 5 instead of 2x square plus 3, which we have in the numerator, right? And I'm going to bracket, I'm going to do this raised to the power 8x square, right? We do a green of this, right? So here we have an expression. Let me draw your attention once again to what we actually did. So all that I'm doing is I'm dividing the numerator and the denominator by 2x square to the power 8x square, right? So that does not change the expression. And I move the 2x square into the, what should I say, into the 2x square plus 3 part of the numerator. And similarly, I move the 2x square to the 2x square plus 5 part of the denominator, and still our expression does not change, right? And this makes it a lot more easier now. We know that I'm left in the numerator with a 1 plus 3 by 2 with x square at the bottom, right? So let me rewrite this. 3 divided by 2x square at the bottom, and again I've got 1 plus 5 divided by 2x square, right? And remember, folks, in both these expressions, you will have to raise it to the power 8x square, right? So let me do that. Folks, this is indeed a complicated problem in my view, and feel free to write to me in case you have not understood any part of the whole solution, right? I'll be happy to help you out. I'll be happy to even talk to you in person if it's required, right? So I have 1 plus 3 by 2x square the whole power 8x square in the numerator, and I have 1 plus 5 by 2x square the whole power 8x square in the denominator, right? Now if I try and connect this with the formula that we have on our screen, which is the last formula, right? 1 plus 1 by x, the whole power x equals e, as x tends to infinity. And if I want to rewrite this particular expression in that format, let's see how do we go about it, right? So let me rewrite this as 1 plus 3 by 2x square we have. And what does that mean? Um, I can rewrite this as, let me copy the numerator as it is. Watch this closely, and if I do a multiply by 3 and a divide by 3 here, it still does not change my expression, right? So all that I'm doing is I'm multiplying by 3 and I'm dividing by 3, right? And we know that our 3 can get cancelled out here, right? So one part of the 3, I'm sorry, uh, we have this 3 and this 3 getting cancelled, right? I hope you folks are with me. I've just multiplied the 2x square into 3 and divided it by a 3. So I'm going to remove this pencil marks here because otherwise it gets very clumsy. So after I cancel that, I'm left with 1. This 3 goes away and I'm left with 1 plus 2x square by 3 divided by the whole power 8x square. And all that I've done is, I mean, if you want to visualize it in another way, then all that I've done is I've brought the 3 to the denominator, right? The 3 in the 1 plus 3 by 2x square expression, I've brought that to the denominator, right? So that is what I've done. And when I do a very similar thing to the denominator, I get 1 plus 2x square by 1 plus 1 by 2x square by 5, right? So watch this closely, folks. I haven't changed the expression. All that I've done is bring the 3 to the denominator and I bring the 5 to the denominator in the denominator expression, right? So now we know how do we go about this, right? So let me rewrite this, and you know that I will have to play around with my 8x square, which is the exponential component now. I'm going to rewrite this as what is my into 2 by 3, and again I do an into 3 by 2, right? That does not change the 8x square exponential component, right? So all that I've done is multiply by a 2 by 3 and multiply it by a 3 by 2, right? So which means I can rearrange this expression, and I'm going to be handling only the numerator right now, as my 8 into 3 by 2 is nothing but my 12, right? Because 8 into 3 is 24 and 24 by 2 is 12, right? So if I write this expression as 2 by 3 x square, I get 2 by 3 x square into 12, right? And similarly, I do a very similar thing to the denominator, and let's see what do we get out there. And I do a 2x square by 5, right? Which means very similar to what I did above. I multiplied by a 2 by 5. I again multiplied by a 5 by 2, right? And what do I get now, right? I know that my 8 into 5 by 2 is nothing but 20, right? So I can rewrite this as 2 by 5 square into 20, and I'm going to remove the 8, right? Right. So we're done We haven't changed the expression. So both in the numerator, we have written 8x squared as nothing but 2 by 3x squared into 12, right? 2 by 3 into 12 is nothing but 8. So that does not change the expression. And in the denominator, we have written 8x squared as 2 by 5x squared into 20, because 5 fours are 20 and still you have your 8x squared. So we haven't changed anything in the expression. It's just another form of writing this out in a manner that connects this expression with the formula, the last formula on your screen, uh, limit x tending to infinity, 1 plus 1 by x, the whole power x equals e. So if I treat my x tending to infinity, then my 2x squared by 3 also tends to infinity, right? So I can still rearrange this. Let's move to the next line. Tending to infinity. And folks, I'm going to copy this now, and I'm going to write this 2 by 3x squared. I'm going to move this 12 and 20 to the power of, right? It still does not change the expression, and you all folks know why. To the power 20, sorry, to the power 12 here. And let me see if I can bracket this out. Yeah, and I'm going to bracket this out as well. And I'm going to do a whole power of 20, right, to the bottom expression. If I treat my 2x squared by 3 as extends to infinity, my 2x squared by 3, if I'm going to replace it by y, where y tends to infinity as well, right? Because y will tend to 2 by 3 into infinity square, which is nothing but infinity, right? And I do a very similar substitution in the expression below. My expression becomes equivalent to, right? Let me write this out here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to write this out again. So I have limit y tending to infinity, and I have this as y, and I have this as y, right? And all that I've done is 2 by 3, the y square is nothing but y, and when x tends to infinity, my 2x square by 3 will also tend to infinity, right? Now let's rewrite this as, and similarly I have, let's assume my 2x square by 5 equals z, right? And what happens here, this one also becomes z, right, to the power 20. And my, as x tends to infinity, my 2x square by 5 also will tend to infinity, which means my z also tends to infinity, right? So this is what we have. In the numerator, you have an expression like this, which when rewritten, right? So this is what we have. And now we know how do we solve this out, right? So this, I'm going to use this formula. Sorry, folks, we pull this down. We're going to use this formula, 1 plus 1 by x, the whole power x, as x tends to infinity equals e, right? So what happens to the first part of my expression becomes equals e to the power 12, right? So I have this as e to the power 12, and that divided by e to the power 20, right? Which is nothing but my 1 divided by e to the power 8, right? So this is the answer for one part of the problem, right? Remember, folks, we've solved only the green expression. We still have the yellow expression with us, which is this part of the expression, which is nothing but 2x square plus 3 divided by 2x square plus 5, the whole cube. And let me copy this and rewrite it here. So the exponential part of this expression is something that we don't have to really be worried about. So, so it's like solving a limit problem of the type rational function p of x by q of x, right? So we know what to do. The degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator remain the same. So we will not have a big challenge solving this part of the equation, right? So what do I get here? Let me do a divide by 2x square on the numerator and on the denominator, right? And what do I get? 1 plus 3 divided by 2. My x square remains comes here. Close this. I have a very similar expression at the bottom, which is my 5 by 2, right? So this is what I have, and I can comfortably do a whole cube here. I do not have to look at this as two independent expressions, right? So let me bracket the whole thing and let me call this out as whole cube, right? Now, I'm sorry, this is extending to infinity, right? So as x tends to infinity, what happens to the numerator? 1 plus 3 divided by 2 into infinity, which is 1 plus 3 by infinity, which is 1 plus 0. And you have a very similar behavior of this denominator as well. So the denominator always also will converge to 1. So the answer for this part of the expression is simple. It is 1 cube, which is 1, right? So our final limit is a product of what we saw as a solution for the green part of the expression, which is this. Let me highlight this, which is my green part of the expression. And what we have for the yellow part of the expression is a 1. So when we do a product of that, we know that the limit of this expression, let me write this again, folks. Limit of this expression is 1 divided by, the limit of this expression will be 1 divided by e to the power 8, which is the answer for the first part, into 1, which is the answer for the second part, right? Which is 1 divided by e to the power 8 is the final answer for this expression, right? So thank you, folks. I hope you found this video helpful. Please do subscribe to my channel and support. Thank you.